starting with you, when did the thought kind of creep into your mind that maybe 2024 was going to be kind of it here?
Yeah, probably 18 and a half years ago. No, I'm just kidding. The beginning of this year. It was, conversations we've had, Ashton and I, over the last 5 years, that there was an ending sooner than later. And there were some circumstances. I said, I had a great niece, Olivia Curry. She played freshman year with Katie Bullen and Mariah. So that freshman class. And I thought, you know what, I might as well stay through her timeline of basketball. Well, she threw a wrench in the gears and decided to go play golf in her sophomore year and not come back out for basketball. And I was like, well, I'm not leaving Katie and Mariah. That's still fun to coach, and we'll see that through. So it was kind of probably 4 years ago that this was the target year, but more from the beginning of this year was formal, and I really didn't want to announce it till the end of the year. I didn't want any distractions on the kids. This is all about them, and they had a dream season, which thankfully it all worked out, and we won some things, and I didn't hold the news, and we didn't do anything. They had a great season, so we figured we'll just announce it at the end of the year.
Because of the season that you did have, was there ever a doubt? Was like, well, maybe maybe I could squeak out a few more wins here.
Yeah. No, no, and I can honestly tell you that probably I could see how that could creep in, but it probably didn't creep in because of the past history of success. I mean, we've been blessed with the highest level, going to the highest level game numerous times. So district title was great to end on, going to the state tournament again, losing to the eventual state champ. But the icing on the cake for me was this year we won the Gretchen Wolf Sportsmanship Award, and that goes to 2 seniors. And it's a significant amount of money towards their college. So in reverse of that once we won that, it was almost like, nope, this is the perfect time to go out. So it never creeped in.
Obviously, you've got quite the resume, but I don't imagine it was any number that came to mind when you're kind of looking back. What was some of the memories that did come back? What are you going to take away most?
Well, it's funny because everyone would start with the state championship games. If not, you're kind of foolish. But for me, the games are one thing by itself, all of the games, because there was non-state championship games that I'm going to remember that were just as remarkable because of the moment or whatever it was, or gyms that were sold out. But I think it's all the players, obviously, that came through here, and now seeing them with kids. And we played Delone, and a bunch of them came back and watched the game, and I was like, oh my goodness, she has 4 kids. Oh my goodness, she has 2 kids. Oh my goodness, I'm old. So players, obviously, but the players graduate, so you get a bunch of new players every year, which is fun, but coaches don't. I think the thing I'm going to miss the most is the coaching staffs that we had here. The sideline conversations, the dinner conversations. It takes a village to do what we've done. It's almost unfair for me to stand up here and take any of the credit by myself, because it was a tremendous coaching staff behind me, and now they're really good friends of mine, which is really cool to say, and even some of the ones that aren't coaching anymore. So I think that's the first thing. The other thing is, my family has been involved in this. My wife, who has been deemed the First Lady of Girls Basketball, York Catholic Girls Basketball, it's a really long title, I say. She was at every game, sitting at center court, had to sit in the same spot, loved it to the nth degree, which makes it easy for me to come home late 6 days a week at practice or traveling around. Watched her grow up, watched my son grow up in a gym. So the support you have from your family and those memories, so between coaches and all the family memories we generated throughout the years is probably the first thing I'll miss. And then the other coaches that have already reached out to me, Coach Eckenrode, Coach Birmingham from Berks Catholic, some of the local guys. I've been blessed to meet a bunch of coaches, and that I'm sure I'll miss. I won't miss the beginning of the season. I tried to cut a deal to come back that if I came back January 18th-ish, right through postseason, I'm in. But no one wanted to go for it, so I stepped away.
When did you first kind of get the coaching bug, and did you try and at all talk her out of it?
You go first.
So I actually coached AAU when I was playing in college. Then in the summers I would come home and I coached AAU basketball with him. We had Keystone Force and then a whole bunch of other programs after that. So that was a lot of fun. I knew I always loved to coach. I like to mentor. I went into education, so I also teach. And just to be around kids and help shape them and mold them into individuals and overcome different challenges is something that I enjoy doing, and then watching them succeed and seeing the smiles on their faces, and also teaching them how to fail too, because that's important, and that's a lesson that he taught me very early. You're going to fail. It's just how do you come out of that? So I did that through college. After college, I went and I was an assistant coach at Elizabethtown College for 2 years, and I loved that time. I actually got to coach a former player that was here, Rachel Forgin, so that was neat to go back, and Coach Gorman was amazing. I loved working with her and under her, and I learned so much from her as well. Then I got a new teaching job back in the area, and he was stuck with me, and I just showed up one day and said, hey, I'm helping out.
Literally announced it herself. I remember standing in the gym and a reporter said, well, we understand Ashton's going to come coach with you. And I said, well, who hired her? Because I didn't hire her. She said, well, she's a volunteer. You can't fire her or hire her. So that's how it kind of started.
The joke was he had to buy me new sneakers, so I had better sneakers for practice to coach in.
Yeah, and I don't think, well, I know, I would never talk her out of it. You know, we would always talk about the pluses and minuses and what goes with it. It's not all glamour. We've been blessed with a lot of glamour, but we have great parents. We don't get into some of the other worlds that I hear other coaches, but she still needed to know that, you know, this is what's going to happen when you're standing up front versus being an assistant. It's going to change again now for her, but I never had a conversation where you shouldn't get into coaching.
That element where she comes in and says, hey, I'm going to be your coach. Where does she get, what side of the family does that come from?
Her mother. I'm going to officially say her mother.
Lies.
The first lady of York Catholic girls basketball. That's
no.
It's obviously mine. I would be lying if I didn't say it. And you know, she's also learned when to use that and how to use it. And I think it's a strength that'll help her in a head coaching position too.
I've always heard players who go the coaching route that, you know, they open their mouth and a former coach comes out of it. Mm-hmm. How often do you kind of catch yourself hearing him come out of your mouth like, oh, wait a minute?
Well, I would say 34 years, but that would be before I was talking. So I think I have the benefit and the blessing of both ends. I'm not only a former player of his, I also grew up with it. I couldn't have had a better coach, a better mentor through everything in my life. And we've had all kinds of things that have happened within our family that we've had to overcome, and watching him has been the greatest role model for me, not just on the basketball court, but also off the court. And I just think that more times than not, I, again, say those words, and in my head, I can see him looking at me saying those same words. So I do think that happens a lot, but I never think of it as a negative thing. I could not have asked for a better teacher to be with this whole time. Hearing what he says to girls.
Coach McGraw from Notre Dame. I could think Gino from Connecticut.
They all are very exciting.
Ones.
Yes,
a lot better ones out there.
But I was not talented enough to play for those people. Let's mind you.
Yeah, that's another. Back to some of the questions you asked, you know, how brilliant I was. I remember having a conversation with her. She could never play in college. You know, look, college basketball is for tall people, fast people. You're small, you're not fast. She went to Juniata and had a remarkable career. So I'm quick to remind people that the brilliance isn't very deep in this body, but her method she used to overcome all those things that are stacked against you as a 5'5" for basketball player, she used or will use to coach, I'm sure. And there are lessons that she had to learn on her own with our methods, with our mentalities, our values as a family or whatever. She has a mom that, she's saying about the mentor I gave her, but, my wife went through cancer and has overcome more than anyone should overcome. So it's really hard for us to go home, complain about anything, and then she walks in the room and says, "Really?" So the adversity, learning how to handle adversity, has been a life lesson of all of ours, and we've used it during coaching.
From a competitive level, obviously Juniata, E-Town, those are both across the state really well-known programs. Who has kind of instilled this path for you over the course, in addition to the man sitting to your left here?
Yeah, no, definitely. There are so many people, and it honestly started here at York Catholic with all of my teachers and just challenging me constantly off the court, which then prepared me for when I went to college and had to balance a full-time job as a basketball player and a full-time job as a dual major, and balancing student teaching and playing basketball there. But I had so many mentors through, obviously, him, but Mr. Bria. He believed in me when I was as round as the basketball, trying to be the last person coming off the bench, not knowing what the heck I was doing, to then going and playing at Juniata. And I had amazing coaches there. Danny Young-Urick is amazing. I learned so much from her, and she trusted in me then, too, being that coach on the floor and relying and relaying all of those messages that she was telling us at foul shots, just like he used to do. We always used to steal a timeout, is what we said, and I would go over at foul shots, and they would tell us as a point guard what to do, and then I would then carry that out to the team. So getting those lessons and having to learn how to do that early, I think definitely helped me. And then moving on at Juniata from Danny as my head coach, I had amazing assistant coaches too, that when I did come off the floor, they were right there to say, hey, here's what you need to do, this is that. I took some great classes at Juniata too, that really, we dove into sports lit, and I was able to just, do a little more research about coaches and players that made noise in history, and just gave me more drive and passion to do that on the girls' side and come back. I always knew that I wanted to be in coaching in some way, shape, or form, which is why I also went into teaching, because I get to have that itch too. If it wasn't available for me to ever come back and be a coach in some aspect, I knew that I could change lives in the classroom as well.
Now, when did the conversation kind of happen that, do you have interest in wanting this position, obviously that within the family essentially, but obviously you've also earned too?
Yeah, it was that was a challenging conversation for me. One, I work at the school as an administrator and was an AD here, and I knew some of the process on bringing coaches on board, so I was balancing daughter versus qualified versus do you open things up or don't you? And I think before that conversation started, it was this brand is deep in our roots, and for all the reasons that this school is amazing and the people that run the organization are amazing. So the first conversation I had was, look, she doesn't have to be the head coach, even if she's qualified to be the head coach. If the school wanted to go in a different direction, it was okay with me, and I would be able to explain why, and I knew she would understand why. So once some of those conversations happened with President Doyle, that look, she's qualified, and we have hired JV coaches in the past or assistant coaches in the past that were qualified, we're going to keep to that process. So if they saw she was qualified, then there was nothing to worry about from that angle. It was up to her if she wanted it. So once that was done, I would say the last 3 years, it was more intentional. Again, from a timeline of mine to, are you ready?
To which I would joke and say, no,
Yeah.
I think I'm just going to have another kid, and then you have to stay longer.
Yeah, she gave me every excuse in the book that I knew she was ready. And then, she coached JV here and gave me an opportunity. And one of the keys to all of our success here is Coach Weaver.
100%.
He's been here. He was here before I got here, and he's been the one constant of all of us. Coach Bria, myself, her, Coach Engler when he was the coach, Coach Land when she was JV coach, Coach Ayers. I could go on and on. But Coach Weaver, I was able to tap him and say, look, it's not my daughter standing there. Is she ready to be a coach at this level? And not just at this level. This brand demands expectations and at everything we do, and he literally looked at me and said, did you seriously ask me that question? And I said, yes, I did. And he agreed that she was ready, and then it was just a matter of convincing her nervousness out of the picture, and just make sure that she understood this is you've coached before, you can coach again. So I would say the last 2-3 years it was more intentional.
And as far as hearing it for the first time, even a few years back, was it excitement? What was kind of the feeling?
It's funny. I told the girls at the banquet on Sunday, he is the only person that can just look at me and I will start to cry. And it's not because of that. And that's usually what came with the, hey, what are you thinking here? It's going to come in the next couple years. And I would just look at him and be like, no, I can't even talk about this with you. and then, recently the last 2 years for me, it was really time. And I sat down with my family. I have 2 little boys who love coming here, who feel like this is home, and that makes me excited. And they love the girls, and the girls on the team love and support them. And it just makes me remember, when I was playing here, and my brother's 7 years younger than me. And so watching him grow up on the sidelines with my mom, and having both my mom and my dad coaching me, and then seeing my brother grow up. So all of those memories started to come back. And I would say definitely the last year and a half, my husband and I started having those conversations like, hey, this is going to be a big change if we do this, I'm going to be there longer. I'm going to be, responsible. I'm going to be up late watching film or whatnot. And my husband looked at me and goes, let's go. Sign us up. And he's super.
That was all I need to hear.
Yeah. And my husband, Andrew, is very supportive. And I wouldn't be able to do that without him. And my mom. My mom, too. She has been at every single game since I can remember. I think I can count on with one finger the amount of games that she's ever missed me play. So having her on the sideline with Andrew and the boys, and just seeing them across when I'm standing there as JV coach this year, and they're waving and yelling, and so it was just as the year went on this year, it definitely was like, okay, I can do this. I think it's time. We're in.
Yeah, it was. And I think what people don't understand is the amount of time it takes to be this successful. I've never played against a non-talented team that won state championships. There's always talent. We have beaten teams that had more talent than us that weren't prepared as well. So she has watched numerous coaches throughout her career spend the time preparing. I mean, Coach Weaver and I would, before the days of huddle and we had to drive around, we drove out to meet a guy from Pittsburgh halfway out after we won our semifinal game to get a tape from the team we were going to play in state finals. And that's a 2.5 hour ride after you just got done playing. It's 1:30 in the morning and we're throwing tapes in, and we're both breaking down film before it was so easy now with huddle. But to be this level of success, you have to be prepared, and it takes a lot of time, and it takes, again, the support system she just said, you have to be willing to give up that time for this time to do those things. And I was blessed to have the same support that she has from a wife that knew, look, if we're going to be this successful, the kids they deserve preparation from us. They don't always execute it, but you should never go home at night and say, we weren't prepared enough. And I'm relatively proud of most of the time we were more prepared than we should have been. And obviously I wasn't the game against Berlin Brothers because they smoked us, but they were better. They were just better. And sometimes you got to convince kids that, look, we were prepared, but the other team was just better. And for us, I think there's other people out there saying, well, they were just better, and I know that we were probably just more prepared at times, not better. And I think she understands that now as a coach, that the preparation is where it all starts. It's not about talent. It's as much as getting kids to achieve more than they think they can. And that takes, watching film, trying to expose other weaknesses. That's part of what I'll miss. That was the fun part of coaching, was trying to come up with a strategy of how do you stop the other team's best, and what you can do to counter that. So that just takes time.
He mentioned the buy-in. How much does it help, getting these girls to buy in, knowing that you have literally walked in their shoes, you competed here, you went on to play at the next level, coach at the next level? How much does that help?
Yeah, we talk about that a lot, and it's hard because I feel like it was just yesterday. And it definitely hasn't been just yesterday. 2008 was a long time ago when I graduated and walked these halls. So that is something, too, that I think when I talk to those girls about it, and then I explain, like, hey, I've been here. Like, this is the excitement that you should be feeling right now. This is what you should be doing, all about the postseason. I mean, when we went to the Giant Center, one of my favorite moments as a player was walking through that tunnel. And I wanted to capture that for each of them. So as the girls were walking through the tunnel, I said, say cheese, like, I'm taking your picture. And they were like, what? And like, just their faces and the awe. And no matter how many times I could explain that feeling, they have to get there to feel that. But being able to help them navigate what's it going to look like next year when they go to college? What's that drive? How do I get there? How do I balance school? What do I need to know? What's it like coming in with a whole bunch of girls that you've never met before? Being able to help guide them in that experience and share my experience with them, because I was extremely fortunate to have an amazing experience at Juniata. And I wouldn't have traded that for anything. I would go back in a heartbeat and do it all over again. So I think having the ability to talk to those girls and share my experiences is definitely something that I like to bring to the table when they ask and they have questions or concerns or they're scared or nervous, and just reassure them. And it's okay. It's okay to feel all those things. It'll be fine. We'll get through it, and we can keep pushing forward.
So what does next season look like? Is this proud dad in the stands? Is this administrator?
Carson
What
says.
is?
I'm 100% sure it's the most heckling fan in the gym time. That's what that's going to be. I'll be yelling, what are we doing? What are we playing?
I'll be booing me from across the stand.
It's funny because my wife and I had this conversation, and look, me stepping down was more than me stepping down. Donna, my wife was part of this, and it was hard for her. And we talked about it, and I said, when she was done playing here, I got to go watch her because back then college games were on Saturday, Sundays. They were back to back. So we didn't have a lot of Saturday games, and if we did, they were in the morning, or I didn't miss many. And we would get up there, and I said, just remember when we would go watch Ashton play, we would sit because Juniata had a sunken gym. We sat at the top because we didn't want to go down on the bottom. We sat at the top, center court, and I could just be a dad. I mean, I didn't have to be a coach. Now, people would come over and talk to me and want me to be a coach, but it was easy to mitigate. So for me, it's gonna be a dad first, watching his daughter do what he used to love and in a place that I know she loves. So I'm gonna be super excited to watch. My grandson made it very clear I'm now the new babysitter of him for every practice and every game, which I'm not sure that was in the contract, but he knows he'll win that over me in a heartbeat. So, again, it's just going to be different for me. I don't have to practice plan every night. I don't have to worry about those things. But on game days, it's going to be just as exciting for me because it's going to be like watching her play again, but with way less pressure for me, and hopefully it'll be a good relationship that she knows there's always a safety net, and there's always a, some information that we may have that she can use or whatever. I made it clear that I want no intention of sitting on that bench. This is her bench, her staff, her whatever she wants to do. At the same time, I'm her dad. So the beauty of being a dad is I'm going to give her my opinion whether she wants it or not.
34 years, remember I said that.
Yeah, correct. And at the same time, she knows she doesn't have to look very far for bouncing something off somebody, hopefully.
Have you thought about the moment where you're stepping into the gym for the first time as the head coach yet, or
no,
okay.
no, I haven't. It's one of those things that I joked with him too, because people are asking me, "Oh my gosh, your dad's retiring from coaching. Like, how does he feel?" And I said, you don't get to feel that feeling until it's time again. The moment I walk in that gym, and I'm gonna get emotional, so excuse me. The moment I walk in the gym and it's not with him, that's going to be hard. It's going to be weird. So I try not to think about it because this is how I get, and he knows that. But I'm also super excited to do it. I've got a great group of girls coming back. A lot of talent coming back. So it's really exciting to think that I can call it my own now. We talked about this place and this legacy and everything, and that's what I said to the girls. Like, I am fortunate enough to be part of what we call here a legacy family, which has nothing to do with sports. It has everything to do with my dad, my cousins, my aunts, my uncles, my brother, and I all have graduated from York Catholic. And so we joke and say, I bleed green and gold no matter what. And that's the truth, is there have been other opportunities for me to navigate and discuss, and I can't. I bleed green and gold. So it's funny because in my head, I still think of myself as the player, not in this next role. And
I'll change quick.
Yeah.
Let me give you my first free advice. The minute you walk out on the floor, you are not the player. You're in the front now.
Yeah, definitely not the player. But it was exciting to hear and get to talk to the girls then at the banquet on a different level, and the parents on a different level. And I felt the support, and from President Doyle, from all the athletic staff, Mr. Hayek and everything, which is really neat because I've made those relationships. President Doyle was my history teacher here when I went, and Mr. Hayek was the gym teacher. So, Mr. Cross was in a grade level below me. So I know all these people, and for them to have that trust and feel the confidence from coming from them and the choice, it made me feel a lot easier being able to step into that role.
He's kind of mentioned some of his relationship with other coaches. Mm-hmm. I imagine you have a relationship with just as many of them, if not a few other ones. What's kind of been the reaction that you've heard from them?
Yeah, I have, and a lot of them. It's been interesting. Like it's just weird getting to hear that, and having them reach out to me. And a lot of them will joke and be like, "Well, it's about time."
Yeah. That's been the theme.
And just the support from everybody. It's just been like I don't have words. It definitely makes it easier. It makes me feel confident that they're confident in me and what I can continue in the legacy that he has built here.
Well, one thing I can say is, and she hasn't heard this yet, all of the coaches that have reached out to me after I think they're just being kind and nice, saying how great a run it was, because when we were across from each other, they didn't think I was so nice, but now they do. Every one of them has reached out and said, give her my phone number, give her my cell, give her my email, give her my information if she ever needs anything. Just got an email today from the Lower Dolphin coach, who we always scrimmage with Northern Lebanon the first, and said, we're excited to see Ashton. Hopefully she still wants to come here, and I'm still somewhat involved. And I said, oh yeah, she's coming. That's not a choice. I mean, they're going to that scrimmage, and I know she would want to. But he even said it. Every coach that has reached out has said, look, pass on that information. And I think if you do things the right way, the way we've tried to do them, you get other people that are willing to help you in this field. And look, coaching's a lonely position. I told her being the assistant is the best coaching job in the world. That's what she'll have to adjust to. But every coach that has reached out has said, hey, just give her my information, pass the information on, and we'll reach out to her.
And it was really neat too, because I got some text messages from people that I haven't talked to in years, or coaches who were recruiting me as a player, and just to hear from them, like it truly means a lot. And it was just an outpour. I mean, my son, after the banquet on Sunday, we went back to his house, because we always do Sunday nights, whether it's at his house or my Grammy's house, where all our family gets together. And my son was like, why is everybody on their phone? And we had to explain to him, like, hey, like, this is what's happening. It's a big deal. People are calling to congratulate. And just to see it in his eyes, too, how to process all of this is, I was like, same, Carson. I feel like the same way you are, just that excitement and nervousness. And, but I know for both of us, it means a lot to those people who reached out and gave us both the best wishes moving forward.
And my final question, I know a few years back, it was after a district championship, I think I talked to 4 of your girls, and every single one of them started how this is a family. How much was that stressed in your time here? And I imagine that's going to be a continuing trend here.
Absolutely.
Yeah. For us, it's, the coaching X's and O's is easy. And any coach that tells you it's hard they should reevaluate things in any sport, in my mind. Anyone can, in today's world, pick up a book and learn how to coach X's and O's. But we win because of our culture. We talk about culture here all the time. And I'm a big culture guy in the workplace. I'm a big culture guy in the sporting world. Our culture foundation here was all about that. I remember having numerous conversations the very first practice that look around and notice how many other people are inside these lines. They're not your mom and dad, they're not your best friends, it's you and us. So that's who's going to deal with every adversity that comes up, just like one big family. And you can say it, but until you act like that, until the girls truly trust that you have their backs. I had a player that could not make a foul shot to save her life in a state semifinal game, and she came over, and the referee was standing there, and I said, are you still having boy problems in the middle of the game? And she said, Coach, really? We're going to talk about that now? I was like, well, something's in your head that has to get out of the way, because you're a great foul shooter. So I'm going to get the ball back in your hands, and you need to be able to make a foul shot. And the referee looked at me and said, did you really just have a conversation about a boyfriend to a girl in high school? And I said, yeah, because that's my daughter out there. That's how we treat these kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's hard for other teams to grasp that. But, you hear we're family, we're this. But I appreciate you telling me that, because until kids say it, and without us being around, and some of the text messages I got back reiterated some of those moments and how it was bigger than basketball. And that's, hopefully what we're handing off is something that she can build more on and make it better. I mean, I'm sure it'll be better than what we had.
Yeah, definitely. Family means the world to me. I mean, we're all very close. Like I said, we get together on Sundays with my dad's side at my Grammy's house, and it's all his brothers and sisters and his brothers and sisters' kids and grandkids. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And when we don't, my husband is an only child, so he wasn't used to all of that, and he absolutely loves it. He loves the camaraderie that he has with my cousins and aunts and uncles, and same thing with my boys. And I know I mentioned earlier about these girls have seen my boys since they were babies. Like, they've grown up in this gym. So when senior night comes, my oldest son gets very emotional because he loves these girls like they're his own, aunts, and they care about them too, and they always come back and ask about them, or they come back and see them at football games and things like that. But family is everything here, and it is bigger than just the X's and the O's, and we do a really great job of being there for these girls through whatever it is, whether it's school, whether it's boy problems, whether it's just they're in their own head and they just need a safe space to talk about the pressure that they're feeling. And I love that they feel comfortable doing that with us. And I think all of us on every single level, whether it's him as the head coach, us as the assistant coaches, Coach Reed, everybody, they are comfortable coming to us with any issues, and this group of girls that we have coming back too, they're open books. they're telling us whether we want to hear it or not. But that's because, and that's what I want them to come, and I want them to share those things, because that's part of the game plan too. If I don't have my players' trust, and I don't have my players feeling safe and confident within these walls, they're not going to play and perform the way that I know that they can play and perform. So that's a hurdle too. And I think being a part of this program and having coached at the JV level with these girls when they were younger too, that's one hurdle that I don't have to navigate with a new group of kids. We obviously have some kids coming up from the 7th and 8th grade programs too that I'm going to have to get to know and learn. And but the beauty of that is I have the current girls to reiterate that message down to, and they really are. This group of girls, I feel like, work really well together.
And it's something I tell coaches here when I was the AD and now an administrator in coaches meetings, that your Catholic is the easiest place to coach because you have that same value in the school. The brand is all about family. We just had a celebration of life for Coach Borsa here, who was legendary football coach. I had him in school. My brothers had him. And the amount of generations that came back. We had the celebration here, and the amount of different generations that came back, and it was like a big reunion. So the foundation of the brand and the school itself, it allows you to create a culture in sports here that some other places just can't do because of rules, regulations, whatever. We don't have that. The expectation here is once you're a student, you're a Catholic, and you graduate, you're in this world forever. And I don't care where you go to college. I guarantee you your high school experience at You're a Catholic and your playing career at You're a Catholic is going to be way more memorable. So for me as a coach, her handing it off, you can just build on that. You can build on the walls. They're held accountable every day in the hallways, in the classrooms. So holding them accountable at a practice they're used to it, which is a blessing. So, for us, creating that culture was super easy because the brand allowed it, the school allowed it, the school expected it, and it was great having that support from the administration.
Thank you so much for your time.
All right.
Really appreciate it.